Kelly Sadler, the commentary editor at the Washington Times, and this is Politically Unstable. Today, we're joined by Gary Goodweather. He ran as a Democrat in the Washington, D.C. mayoral race, was defeated by a Democratic Socialist, Janeese Lewis George, who has embraced the socialism title. And we're seeing this more and more in the Democratic Party, where establishment traditional Democrats are getting beaten out by these DSA candidates that seem to have the momentum and enthusiasm behind them. But what does that mean for our nation's largest cities? Gary, thank you so much for joining me. And I'd like to talk about the DC race. You ran on a very pragmatic platform. A very reasonable, pragmatic platform to improve the city, to improve the safety of the city and its residents, and yet you lost.
Yes. I actually, my platform, which was, it's really based upon my 30 years of experience as a former Army officer, as a small business owner, as being a parent and raising two kids here in the city. And because of all that work and just my life, I've been able to work with so many different people here in the city. And something I really believe is that, well, Washington, D.C. has the highest educated workforce in the country. And we have not elected leaders that are intellectually curious, that are the best and the brightest, that really look at, use all of that talent to be able to develop solutions. And that's what I did. Everything that I proposed was based upon a lot of hard work and research and executable because of what my life's work and what I know that we could accomplish for DC. I sort of say, Kelly, that I think I lost to an ideology than I did more than just losing to ideas and solutions. And Kelly, say, what I fundamentally believe in is that we need a net positive system. I believe that is how everybody succeeds. Individuals succeed, society succeeds, and DC government and in the DSA, they believe in a zero-sum game, that other people, other organizations need to lose for others to win. And I just don't believe that. I believe that everybody can succeed.
Now, the DSA unveiled its platform earlier this week, which includes radical ideas like abolishing the Senate, abolishing the presidency, abolishing the Supreme Court, only having the House of Representatives, and the House then would elect a president and a court. It's abolish the police, it's abolish cash bail, it's abolish, prisons,
You said abolish everything.
Yeah, and it's amnesty for all illegals, abolishing ICE. A lot of it is untenable to the majority of Americans, and yet they're still scoring victories within the Democratic Party using the Democratic Party's apparatus to achieve their power. I mean, how do you feel about that? And do you feel like they are pariahs on the Democratic Party establishment?
Let's be clear, they're not Democrats, right? I mean, they are. They use the Democratic system, the Democratic Party system, to put up candidates, but they're not a party. They are, and I guess the best way to say it would be an ideological organization, right, with litmus tests and that's very exclusionary. That they decide who can participate and who can't, who can succeed and who can't. But what I noticed in my race is that they are exceedingly well organized and exceedingly well funded, and that goes a long way. It also, I recognized in my race, and I was just out and about today to talk to several different people, and who didn't even really know that there was a mayoral race. And I think that there was that worked towards to the DSA's advantage, is that they were very singularly focused on just promoting their candidates, and it really was effectively a DSA sweep of all DC open seats. So I think that, call them pariahs. I think that there is a struggle within the Democratic Party, um, to know what the DSA, not incorporate them, but what they stand for, and I think that on a national scale, it's a problem, because
Mhm.
they are a fringe organization. They are also, their goals may be different than MAGA, but the way they operate is very similar. They both are exclusionary. They both need an enemy to be able to thrive.
Mhm.
And again, I'll just say that's not how I view government systems or economic system. That I believe that everybody can be successful. I think that the Democratic Party now needs to make a decision on how to deal with an organization like DSA.
And what do you propose the Democratic Party do? I mean, because you're right. In Washington, D.C., it was a sweep, but it was also a very low turnout election. We saw the same thing in New York City when Zohran Mamdani won. And he wasn't winning the blacks or the Hispanics or the minorities. He was winning, and he won largely by white, college educated women and men, the progressive elites, have you. The working class has rejected socialism by and large, but at these low turnout elections where they can motivate this base, uh, they're proving they can win.
I, Kelly, it's exactly right. They are proving they can win. The Democratic nominee will have won the mayor of DC effectively with 14% of the DC voting population. That is exceedingly low. And I think, to your point about, generally when we look at who voted for her, yeah, it's the more white affluent population here in Washington D.C. Generally, the western part of the city, and and I think that there is, but even when I was just out talking to folks today, there is a vast misunderstanding, or I hear all the time. I just didn't know that this is what the DSA stands for. And you just brought up, some of the things that they just put out today, but and I'll give you an example. I mean, here in DC, one of the litmus tests is defund the police. But at the same time, we live in Washington D.C. You defund the police, and our police officers are. I mean, no organization's perfect, but they're hardworking individuals. They're human beings, and they're tasked with protecting us. But by defunding them, it creates a city that's less safe. It's antithetical to community police, and to be able to actually have police that are here in our city as that are just more presence, and it invites more federal intervention. It invites more National Guard into our city, because because it says we can't take care of ourselves.
Mhm. And the DC police is already understaffed as a result after the COVID lockdowns and the whole defund the police movement. When their budget was cut, we're still not at proper staffing levels for the DC police. But yeah, they do maintain law and order, and they do service minority communities the most. And if you look at poll after poll, when you poll the minority communities, they overwhelmingly say they do not want to defund the police, that they want the police, and there could be reforms. But defunding is definitely not popular. Where do you think, this this misinformation, I suppose, is what it is. How do people not know about that? And what does the Democratic Party need to do to expose it, to root it out of the Democrat brand, if you will?
You know, I definitely can use the word misinformation. I also think that is a lack of education. And I would say just I'm a big believer in education. I'm a believer in education and training. It's sort of foundational to everything. And I mean that from our professional educators up to just to the news, right? And something actually that our internal polling showed is that with an educated electorate that we would win. But that word educated, it means informed. And I think that most voters, as I just said, just weren't informed of the particulars of what the DSA stands for, but mostly about in my particular race, really about and this is what the Democratic Party, I believe, needs, which is solutions. Which is solutions that is based upon being a big tent that includes everybody, that doesn't pre-decide who to exclude as part of the conversation, because that is not that sets everybody up for success. And I think the Democratic Party needs to clearly define what their solutions are. The Democratic Party nationally needs to become a party of solutions, bringing in experts and bringing in practitioners together to be able to develop those solutions that can be executed on.
Now, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, says that he can sell communism, that selling communism, selling socialism is easy because you just promise free things, free bus fares. You promise free childcare, free college education. And this is all on their platforms. And it's all what they campaigned on. Grocery stores run by the state to have lower costs of groceries. They promise Zoran Mandani implemented in New York City, which he campaigned on, rent freezes. A lot of their proposals run counter to capitalism.
Yes.
Rent freezing in particular, it creates a downward cycle. The president is right. When socialism has been tried and communism has been tried throughout the globe, historically, it has never worked out. So what are your solutions? Because Republicans are having a hard time finding messaging to combat this as well. Because for people that are struggling or down on their luck, all of this sounds really good, but it's actually implementing these policies will have kind of the reverse, in actuality, in practicality. Rent freezes ultimately,
and that's what research shows, right?
Yeah, yeah. But go ahead.
Well, no, that's exactly right. I mean, one of the reasons I ran is that there have been no new ideas, no new solutions, and especially in Washington, D.C. And again, we have all this incredible intellectual capital, but haven't utilized it to develop those solutions. And yeah, of course, it's easy to say, look, people are hurting right now, and these are real problems. Affordability is a real issue. Safety is a real issue. Our education system here in Washington, D.C. is a real issue. But and this is all messaging. It is solutions, my solutions. You use the example of free transportation. So part of what I was, and look, solutions, and this is how I view myself. I'm not left, I'm not right. I'm not progressive, I'm not conservative. I just don't see solutions that way. And part of what I'll give you a couple examples of my solutions. One was Fare Free DC, which was providing transportation, free Metro bus and Metro rail for DC residents, because that is an economic development tool, and it's a social economic development tool. It allows for mobility physically, but for new businesses to start, for residents from all over the city to be able to move freely within our city. And the way that it's modeled, and funded is that not only does it pay for itself, but it actually is too multiple. It actually creates new tax revenue without raising taxes, without creating new taxes, just by pure economic gain. And another one of my policies, which ironically is getting significant progress now, is my energy policy. A huge part of this campaign was about utility bills, and and my Power DC included the DC investing in technologies, that clean technologies, where Washington DC would become leading producer of clean energy, because we need to address the supply side to be able to bring down utility bills, and these are technologies that we already use in the city, but including which I talked about during the one major debate, which is having a small modular reactor on federal land here in DC. It's getting enormous traction, and it's already being done. It's actually, this administration has had a rule change that would have taken a decade for this to get done. Now it takes 6 to 12 months, and it's being done exactly in one of the locations that I planned for, which is at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. The difference is that it's just going to be utilized to provide energy for the United States Air Force. We should start utilizing federal land as an asset for DC residents, and in this example, being able to produce energy for our DC residents, and that reduces both the generation cost and the transmission cost for Washington DC residents. So this all goes to the Democratic Party. DC government needs to elect leaders with solutions.
Where do you think the future of DC goes? So now Muriel Bowser, I mean, DC has always been under Democratic control. But Muriel Bowser is actually more of a moderate if you look at her and you compare and contrast her to Janeese Lewis George. She was working with the administration on enhancing with the National Guard, and with enhancing the DC Metro Police, and working on safety aspects. Janeese said that she's going to buck this administration, the White House, Congress. She's going to go her own way. I mean, what do you think the future looks like under Democratic Socialist rule? We've now got a mayor in New York City. We now have one in Washington, D.C. We have one out in Seattle. In major, metropolitan areas where these people are securing victories. I mean, what does our future look like?
Look, I'm worried. And I'm worried because the policies that the DSA puts out, they haven't succeeded, and we are doubling, tripling down on the same ideas, the same policies that have put us in the situation that we're in. So and again, it is ideas that excludes. It doesn't work to promote everybody, and that is how DC government has worked. It has been about penalizing rather than promoting. It is about, instead, if the DC government can't figure it out or do it, then they put it on DC residents and businesses, but don't give DC residents and businesses the tools to succeed, and then penalize them, fine them when they can't do it. It's about compliance instead of competition. And DC is just continuing to double and triple down on worse of the same, more of the same, worse of the same. I think that, and I just saw that Representative Comer introduced legislation today that would limit DC's ability to raise taxes, which I don't think that bill has the potential of succeeding. However, it does show that DC really has not been able to govern itself. Uh, and I think that it absolutely asks for more federal intervention, which is opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here in DC.
No, DC is such a beautiful city.
It's an
Um,
amazing city.
I mean, I live in Northern Virginia, but I work in DC each and every day. I mean, and there is no more beautiful city in America than Washington DC, but watching it decay in a road is heartbreaking. With
Kelly, it is the greatest city in the world. I believe that. Washington, D.C. is the greatest city in the world. I love this city. It's where I decided to start my business, to raise my family. I it is it never gets old. For all of your watchers. And every time I drive past a monument, or it never gets old. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Sorry.
So this is the question though. I mean, a Republican has 0% chance of ever winning the mayoralship here in Washington D.C. We're now under control of the Democratic Socialists of America. Um, by and large, we look nationally, we see, I think there's many Democrats, JFK Democrats that are like, where is my party going? But there doesn't seem to be any leadership within the Democratic Party to 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 stop the kind of the DSA takeover, if you will. And you're talking about how they demand how there's litmus tests, and if you fail one, then you're disqualified from being, represented by them, and they're gonna. But you also talk about the Democratic Party needing to be a big tent party. So how do you work with the DSA, given they're all or nothing? But you want to kind of include them within the big tent because, as Nancy Pelosi says, this is a game of addition, not subtraction. I think Gavin Newsom said we're going to have to learn how to work and play together uh, to grow the party and to win. So, what is the path forward?
Well, I think the path forward is, look, I think that the DSA, most of the DSA, um, they probably do want to help people. They probably do want people to succeed. It's their methods, right? And it is their framework of exclusion that makes it exceedingly problematic. Having said that, look, I would work with anybody, any organization, any person that wants to see everybody succeed, that wants to be included and a part, and to address the serious problems that we have. So I think that if the Democratic Socialists decide to be their own party, which how they are structured right now, I think that's probably the best. But they're absolutely, just like everyone else, welcome in the Democratic Party to be able to give different ideas and solutions, as long as everyone is working collaboratively, creatively, empathetically, to be able to develop solutions. And I'll say, here in Washington D.C., so greatest city in America, and in the world, and we need to be the leader of democracy. 1 week after the primary election, there was a ballot initiative a few years back allowing both ranked choice voting and semi-open primaries, so that independents could vote in the primaries. And uh, ultimately, council approved for ranked choice voting, but did not vote for independents, who really are disenfranchised here in D.C. 1 week to the day after the election, D.C. Council funded that, so that there'd be open primaries moving forward. That obviously doesn't help voters in 2026. It doesn't help our residents now. But I think there is a place for this. Is where the, the left, the right, progressive, conservative, everybody, I believe, wants the same thing, which is to to be successful, to have opportunity to succeed. And there's a place for everybody in the Democratic Party that wants to help be a part of that mission.
And if they don't want to help, you should splinter off and go it alone. I mean, listen, there is, a lot of pundits want to say it's just like the Tea Party movement within the conservative party. There was friction between the establishment and kind of the newcomers, but we were all Republicans. The Tea Partiers just wanted change, and they wanted new generational leadership, and they wanted, they wanted lawmakers to do more on Capitol Hill. I feel like this is a little different. DSA is a little different in the fact that they want change, they want generational change, but they want it on their terms and on their terms alone.
Look, I was not always a Democrat. I was registered Republican for a good amount of time, and ideals or values that I thought were Republican ideals, like freedom in my personal life was very much a Republican ideal. And I'm a former Army officer. I'm third generation military. Both my kids are in ROTC. Believed in a strong national defense, and to me that was a Republican ideal. And I was an independent for a long time. And then when I thought that it sort of reversed, that those became somewhat Democratic ideals, that they were standing up for individual freedoms, but it is and for the everyday person, for every human being, and that is not where the Democratic Party has, I believe, now focused. It is conflating so many different issues and so many irrelevant issues together that it's as clear as mud of what the Democratic Party values are. And this is why you say the Democratic Socialists, if their values are not, my opinion is, if their values are not that everybody can succeed, and that how we do it is by ensuring that we are building systems that are net positive for everybody to succeed, then they should, I think your words were, they should go on their own, or to go out on their own.
All right. Well, Gary Goodweather, thank you so much for joining me today. I think that there's a lot of people who are independent or are centrists, middle of the road, who don't like what they're seeing coming from the far left and or the far right.
Agreed.
And the way it's hard in this world, in this media dynamic right now, because all of the attention are going to the squad members, to the DSA. That's where all of the journalists like to focus. Is the same thing on the far right. And I think that we as Americans there's more that unite us than tears us apart. And so I do see a path forward for more centrist candidates moving forward, hopefully, nationwide.
Kelly, it is our diversity, our cultural heritages, our differences, that is what will lead us all to success. That is what will unite us, is that the belief that everybody can succeed here in the United States of America and in Washington, D.C. And that is what I hope that our leaders, regardless of Democrat or Republican, that they understand, and that they are elected leaders because they are there to serve. Mayor of Washington, D.C. is a service job. I ran because I was willing to work nine days a week, and that I wanted to serve people. I wanted to be of service to people, and I hope that that is what all of our leaders, when they run for office and when they serve us, always remember.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate your time. Thank you.